Let me acknowledge, of course, Minister Hon, for your leadership in this space. I do sincerely place a record for our country's noting that you've excelled in your portfolio as a very top-class petroleum minister. This deal would not have come about without your consistent effort and stewardship and leadership in the sector, in the space. So let me do acknowledge your big hand in ensuring it reached this moment of signing. The gas agreement was finally signed in the presence of Governor General as a witness to the PNG gas agreement being signed. Let me also acknowledge Governor Haveta and many other politicians or leaders of our country who, from our government caucus, who had a hand in making this possible. Governor Haveta, when I was in engagement, our government used him as my special envoy to go ahead and break the grounds, so to speak, to ensure that when we arrived, the deal was set for us to sign in as far as the framework understanding and agreement was concerned before we could come to condense and progress into what is now the PNG gas agreement being executed today. So Governor Haveta and everyone else in the government caucus, all other ministers who were able to help, and all other leaders of our government, let me say thank you very much for your input. It would be remiss of me not to also acknowledge Eli and more importantly our Governor of Western Province, Honorable Tobo Yoto, my Governor, yourself, and President John Hoxop, and Chairman of our landowners, Michael Magnisop. Thank you very much, you and all your leaders from the project area, especially those who flew in, but also those who reside in Port Moresby. Many years the impression on PNG was doing its round, and you all flew in like many of your cousins from the PNG LNG project area and Papua LNG project area and many other projects in our country. Our dreams are high and our dreams are too big. We were running around in circles to ensure these projects have been moved. PNG has been on the table for more than 20 years. In fact, today, former Premier and former Governor, Mr. Mark was telling me, I don't know whether he's here with us today, but he was telling me when he was Premier and when he was Governor, the concept or the PNG field was established and was being discussed. But it has taken us quite a while for us to reach this moment, but we never questioned the timing in as far as what is good for our country is concerned. Everything happens by the design of the master designer himself, the God who placed the resources in our land. And if it was meant to have been signed earlier, it would have been signed. But we allowed other projects to go ahead, and PNG took its time. And thankfully, it has happened under our watch. And I just want to acknowledge all our leaders who flew in from the project area, led by Governor, yourself, and all our members from the provinces. Let me say that you did contribute, and Minister Hon did eloquently put it straight. Especially Governor, his voice has been consistent in his fight to get more for his people, consistent with our Pangu Party's philosophy of getting back more for our people. The province is closer to the project. Governor, we have not come to the project yet. We will come to the project area with the landowners. Whatever we've secured in this agreement will be unbundled. You have correctly stated your positions, 7 or 8 of them, and we will see where best you could take, but I will come to these issues later on in my acknowledgement. I do acknowledge all your leadership and your province's presence today in this occasion. Mr. Laden and the team from ExxonMobil, thank you very much. Your forerunners were here ahead of you, but they had the moment under the sun here, and it's your moment under the sun when the ink has dried on our paper today. So let me acknowledge your strong leadership. There was a Peter before when we did the first Exxon-led project. There's a second Peter again when we did the second Exxon-led project. Peter is a good apostolic name, so maybe Exxon should have more Peters in the rank. Send more Peters to us, but we'd like you to be a Peter with us for a long, long time. so that we mature this project to actual construction and delivery, and ensure that the project is contributing to our economy and our people. I also do acknowledge Brett, from the Chief Operating Officer from Santos. Needless to inform all of us, but Santos has now subsumed all of OilSET's interest in Papua New Guinea and global footprint. And Santos has emerged into, if not second, but possibly amongst the leading oil and gas company in Australia. It may be the second, but I'm just trying to be too kind on Santos. But the combined balance sheet of what is now Santos is much bigger, much healthier. Thank you, Brett, for coming in. Representing Kevin Gallagher and the team, I have issued Santos a letter on how we are rearranging the equity arrangements, not just in Pinang, but in PNG LNG and Project Moso. Hopefully, sometimes down the line, Santos will also make the economy excited, especially PNG LNG beneficiaries from the provinces and landowners. They have given indication that they may offload certain equity in PNG LNG, but of course it comes at the right price and subject to negotiation. So I'm just letting the cat out of the bag much earlier, but whilst we are in the PNG custom for investors, when you are sharing the feast in one occasion, you have to let your cousins in the other area know what is there for them. So in the sort of context, whilst the cousins on the other side in Western Province are being dealt with in as far as Pinang is concerned, and because these two projects will be sequenced together and will be interfacing in as far as use of its infrastructures and facilities are concerned, I just thought, whilst acknowledging Santos and Mr. Daly and yourself, that I indicate to PNG LNG beneficiaries, the 5 provincial governments, including Western Province in itself, the landowners of the 5 provinces, that Santos has had good positive discussions with the government of Papua New Guinea, that they're willing to offload at fair market price certain stake in what is now their stake in PNG LNG project. And so this is good news in the making. For those of you who want to dig more into this, hold on to your horses. And once the commercial discussions have been concluded with Santos and Kumul, will be in a place to announce sometimes into the future. So many good puzzles are being put in place in as far as PNG's drive to get back more from our resources are concerned, to ensure we are better placed to fuel and fund the needs of our country. We have, of course, our own Leon Baskins. He was formerly of OilSET, now of Santos, running the country affairs in as far as Santos operation in the country is concerned. Let me also acknowledge the other partner of the Pinang project. I think JX Nippon of Japan. They will all contribute to making sure this $9.9 billion plus capital investment to make Pinang what will be a $44 billion project come to pass. And so these are the partners in the Pinang project. And of course, our own local partners for our landowners will be our landowners and provincial government through MRDC if they so nominate, and our own Kumul for the rest of our country. They are partners in this. So it was a great team effort. Of course, like every negotiations, each party has their own demands to place on the table, and we cannot hide from the fact that we came with a very high demand guided by government policy. Government policy as we took office, number one, most of you would want to go to parliamentary handset, and I became Prime Minister in my first inauguration speech. I did make mention that Pinang is not part of Papua LNG. Pinang is a separate project on its own. And I was going full cycle. I just want to thank our friend ExxonMobil for their complete understanding to know they must work, of course, respecting, and government respected the rate of return on the investment for investors, but they also understood clearly what government policy is and what the enabling legislations are, and within those ambit and environment, we were able to go on a very extensive back and forth exchanges until we find a sweet spot in which they make a return on the investment, and as far as all our investors are concerned. But of course, our country also are able to achieve what government sets out to achieve. And for us, as a government, or as a country, when we took office, we aimed high in every project harvest in our country. We wanted to end anywhere between 60 to 65 in as far as the project economics are concerned. Of course, that is government policy, but different project has different modalities in as far as project cost structure is concerned and project rate of return is concerned. So giving respect to that, I just want to say up front that Exxon came out very well for us. And please, at this time, why don't the rest of Papua New Guineans in the house with me join me in clapping our hands to ExxonMobil led team, but more importantly to the Exxon hierarchy from Mr. Peter Laden and those who were before you and Ribery and others, but more importantly past our appreciation to Mr. Ian Malone and the team back in Houston for ensuring that the spirit of what we wanted for our country, to get more for our landowners, get more for our provinces, and get more for our country is achieved in Penang, and we've been able to achieve that. And Pastor, thank you. But having said this, Papua New Guineans, I will announce what we've got, but Papua New Guineans must never take these sort of gestures for granted. Globally speaking, investment is not only, Papua New Guinea is not only a place for investment, but as a whole, in big corporations like ExxonMobil or Total for that matter, Santos, there's a space for investment or footprint for investment right throughout planet Earth. Many countries have oil and gas just like us, and closer to home where Total is operating, you have, for instance, the Mozambique LNG project where Total is the principal operator. They got 80 TCF of gas, 80 trillion cubic feet of gas in Mozambique. Whereas us in Papua LNG is only 6.6 TCF of gas in Papua LNG. So the global footprint, the global investment destination is available for super majors like ExxonMobil or Total or Santos closer to home to choose to go and invest. But we were able to bargain hard, push hard, but also know where our boundaries are. Boundaries are to ensure that we strike the deal within the rate of return the investors could make, as well as some other moving tectonics in as far as the energy space is concerned. I just want to remind our country also the second key factor in us to having to pen down this deal today instead of 10 years from now. 10 years from now, the environment may be completely different. There's a shift towards clean, green energy taking place on planet Earth. It's contemporary global issue. You look at almost every major, you look at, for instance, Total changed the name from what used to be Total to Total Energies. That name change is not just ordinary name change. A shift now is happening where energy companies are migrating to cleaner energy sources. As we are currently seeing coal, 20 years ago coal was seen in that context. Today, more in as far as those who advocate for clean energy on planet Earth and the climate change issues, we will be being energy sourced from the hydrocarbon sector as energy that has a larger carbon imprint or footprint in as far as the effect on the environment and the atmosphere is concerned. So we're not living in what the environment was when Penang was discussed 20 years ago. We're not living in the environment where what was the world was in 28 when PNG LNG was signed. I'm no expert in those areas, but I just want to remind Papua New Guineans that for ExxonMobil to put signature to paper today, when there is a shift, tectonic shift taking place in globe in as far as the energy source and energy focus is concerned. And I just returned from China. They're now moving towards clean energy as a country where one of the bigger energy consumers, globally speaking, are moving now in rapid pace towards clean energy. So in that context, for us to get investment signature on today in what is a pandemic tough year, global investments have sort of dried up. There is no this sort of investment signatures in many countries on planet Earth today, but for us to secure in 2022 at the backdrop of COVID-19, economic contraction, shift to clean energy, global investment diversities that both ExxonMobil and Total and I beg your pardon, Santos and JX Nippon could have chosen to invest in. For us to get the signature at this time is something that is commendable. And let me step back, every Papuanist, let's give a big clap to ExxonMobil. For the country, let me just inform us, Papua LNG, this is being sequenced consistent with Papua LNG construction. Papua LNG, which is about 13 billion, 14 billion or 12 billion dollar project, will start construction possibly at around 2024, 2025. They're going through pre-feed and feed complete. FID very soon in 2023, hopefully. And so if Papua LNG construction starts in 2024, then it terminates or ends at around 2028. We hope to extend, and the deal is the agreement is structured in a way where after construction of Papua LNG, P'nyang LNG construction will carry on from that. So the country will benefit from 8 years of consistent construction economy, if I could put it this way. So we got 8 years of consistent construction that is coming at the back of us now sequencing a better deal in P'nyang that we run back-to-back with Papua LNG construction. So 8 years of construction, needless to remind all of us, but if you go back and if the media and every one of you do your research, when PNG LNG was signed in 2008, our economy was just over 30 billion kina economy when we signed the PNG LNG project for us to, the gas agreement was signed. In 2014, before first gas, our economy went past $57 billion, 57 billion kina space. So there's a direct correlation to the benefit to our local economy in as far as construction activity is concerned. And just for one 4-year construction period from 2009, 2010 to 2014, which our economy almost grew by 60–70%. Our intention in this one to sequence Papua LNG and P'nyang side by side or back to back is for us to have 8 years of construction in our country that should run from 2024 to 2032. That, in our view, will have a positive effect on our economy in a very big way as we go forward. So this is smart project sequencing that we were able to pick up together as we detached P'nyang from Papua. Then we picked up again discussion with ExxonMobil, and now we've sequenced these two projects together back to back. Earlier concept of P'nyang was a standalone third train project that will be run with that will be developed. Today's sequencing of P'nyang moves away from a third train project to be associated with a new train, I beg your pardon, to be associated with P'nyang. But we will feed P'nyang into the PNG LNG infrastructure and will come down, and it technically gives Papua New Guinea gas producing ability right from where we are today right up into 2050 or 2060. So we're extending our country's life in being a gas producing nation that will run parallel to the way the globe will be moving towards clean energy, and hopefully in the same space we are consuming and using our gas resources in our country. And on the other side, in the hand side, Mr. Peter Laden and the technical team, as they engage on feed, they've indicated to us that as the pipeline comes down, there will be T-joints in certain specific strategic interventions. So into the future, hopefully, if stranded gas available in Western Province or this Papua and Southern Fault pipeline, and exploration goes on, these resources can be mobilized into a strategic asset, super asset and infrastructure that we are establishing for our gas industry to run its course from now until 2050, 2060. And that has continued sustained value to economy over a long time, instead of aggregating our resources too quickly and depleting our gas much earlier than later. This is where we have set some of the headline gains that we've gained from this one. We've gained 3% production levy. Compared to PNG LNG, there is no production levy. And in Papua, they've gained 2% production levy. In Penang LNG, we're getting 3% production levy. That is, thank you, Exxon, for allowing this to take place. We're having better calculation in royalty and equity. In Penang, apart, instead of what is the president calculation sort of formula given in PNG LNG project. PNG LNG project, there are more deductions. The OPEX, the CAPEX, and the cost of depreciation and everything else is lumped. There's more deductions. Instead of earning 2%, you'll be earning 0.7% or thereabouts. But we've learned and we've talked to them, and one of those hearts we're pushing strong back and forth. Law says 2%, you're going to give me 2%. So of course they will give and take, and we're getting a little bit, not a little bit, much better in Penang than what we're getting currently in PNG LNG project. And so for that, let me say thank you again to ExxonMobil. We're also getting total state equity, and ExxonMobil let him, ExxonMobil's share of equity. They were able to part way with 12% of equity. So we stack it up with what the law allows for us at 22.5%. We now, in as far as equity, we've signed up to 34.5% equity space. That's the highest ever we would be getting as far as an LNG project is concerned. Needless to remind, at PNG LNG, we are sitting at 19.6% for all PNG beneficiaries put together. When you distribute them, Kumul for the rest of our country is now sitting at 12.3%, and so at 34.5%. This is a high deal, a higher deal, or highest deal anyway. Very good deal ever reached in as far as oil and gas project is concerned in our country. And let us all join me in clapping to ExxonMobil for allowing us. The law only allows for 22.5% through negotiation. We went over and above, and we were able to get 34.5% in this deal. We were able to secure in that 5% of gas for our domestic market use, and there are two price types at the place of processing here in Central Province. We're getting at 9% JCC. Up at the upstream at the field area in Western Province, if we extract it up there, domestic use, we'll be getting at 6% at JCC, which is on average much cheaper than Papua LNG domestic market gas. So in PNG LNG, on my press here, it says there is no domestic market gas provision in PNG LNG, but please, the state team, I need to remind us, there's a very, very little one. Very little one for upstream and height, so let's give credit to ExxonMobil. It's not as if we got nothing in PNG LNG. There's very, very little one for a DMO in the upstream, and Mr. Peter Laden and the team would like to use that for the power line that we're running from Hagen to Heights. We want to uplink power that should supply power for Hela, Southern Islands, Western Islands, Jiwaka, Chimpu. That's it's our intention, and if the little space at DMO for original PNG LNG is unbundled, we could feed the power project that we want to feed up there. But look, on a bigger scale, we got more in DMO in Penang, and it's a business that landowners and provincial government can partner and work in the DMO space. We also picked up some LEWEX, especially an advance on tax credit project. Exxon and us will work, and Western Province, an envelope of about 150 million kina LEWEX for tax credit projects. Of course, the gas will be, earnings will start to flow in 2032 or 2033 thereabouts, but it doesn't have for us to start to work in the space. In case, unbeknown to many of you, let me make one or two reflections, Mr. Peter. The reason why some of us fight very hard to earn more for for our resources in our country is simply this. If these projects were not placed in those remotest part of our country, no one would have thought about these places in our country. And I make this statement with sincerity of sincerity of all my life and being and soul. None of us would have known that Penang existed. Penang is just the name of the field, but I ask this question, does any one of you know that Olsobib exists? I ask the media, do you know Olsobib? 95% would say you do not know Olsobib. I ask the state team here, Treasury, Finance and Planning, do you know Olsobib? 99% of you will not know where Olsobib is. Thank goodness God placed resources in some of the remotest areas of governments, and high and mighties in Waigani do not forget this remotest part of the country. That is why we're fighting hard to pass and get and pass it back to these places so that they could see development much earlier. Where Penang is, lucky for us, we're using tax credit from Oktedi. We are now punching road under my government's watch from Oktedi, ExxonMobil, pass through Olsobib, and we're approaching Teleform and breaking the hidden bed wall as we speak. Olsobib is the government station of what will be Penang project operations. It's been there for so long, but not too many of us would know where Olsobib is. I don't know, for some reason I was living in those areas when I was walking around from 0 to 6, 7 years old in my younger life. Places like Ningurum, places like Nongan River, places like Olsobib. Ningurum, we used to walk one day from Kingway into Ningurum. There's no road. If there was no Oktedi project, there'll be no road running past Ningurum into Oktedi. Lucky there was an Oktedi project and there's a road now running past. Shamefully, no government has sealed this road up to today. Our government's now giving instruction, is starting to seal the road. And it's just not these projects up in Western Province. Look at Wafi Golpu for that matter. You look at Panguna, you look at Lihil, at some of the remotest places. If God had not blessed them with this resource in the land, no high and mighty in Waigani would have thought about these places. That's why when we are fighting, Mr. Peter Laden and the team, our investors, when we fight to get back more, you will be part of us in our development forum processes. You would see that we will pass back over 40% of what we get to the province and districts as part of our Pangu-led government's policy. 40% of everything we get goes to the province and the districts and the landowners, simply because they are project area security. They keep the project safe, they're happy, they give blessing. The project then, the 60% we take through Kumul and through tax and through other national government earnings, we keep the rest of our country, and the place should be, the country should be blessed. So I speak to our investors. When I fight to get back more for our resources, I fight with context and respect to your rate of investments. If you make profit according to your global benchmarks, the additionals we must share so that I give to these least developed areas now. They are the most least developed areas. Oktedi has been running, for instance, in Penang for the last 30 years, but this place I call Olsobib still remains backward in the hinterlands. The president is sitting here and he will attest to it. It's only in the last 2 years we built road into that place. And I think the Penang project will right on the back of the road Oktedi has built, so we're prepared to reinvest the money to Oktedi for the tax credit we've invested. Anyway, it's left hand to the right hand, so I can't complain. So it's a good investment. I could pick on a story for the sake of telling us some additional stories, but 89 years ago, Jack Heights walked those tracks, Mr. Peter Laden. And if Jack Heights were to come back alive today and walk that same track he walked in the Penang Mountains, you know, in 1930s, this was the last part of our country unexplored. Outside the government and mission settled in the coastal areas of Papua. settled in the coastal areas of New Guinea, and they were starting to make inroad into Western Highlands. But this last place called the Papuan Wonderland was not explored, and they were able to send Jack Heights into and Jim O'Malley into that space in our country. It was a black spot. If Jack Heights were to come back today, he would still see Penang, the same Penang he saw when he walked in 1935. An expedition that took from 1st of January 1935 and completed in June 1935. For the record, those who care to know, came up through Fly, picked some Morocco guys at Gulf, came up through Fly, went to Strickland, went to Rental, and walked up the mountain, and crossed back right into the Southern Highlands and out through Kikol. That place is still remain dark as we speak today. Thankfully, Exxon starting to some work with us in PNG LNG project area footprints. We just hope the same space is given as we migrate into bringing the Jua areas and the Penang areas into light as we work to unbundle resources from those areas. I look forward to working with the project area. All in all, we've scored within the range of 60 to 65 government take that we've stated in as far as our government policy is concerned. This deal ensures we peak in the first instance at 59%, and we'll be going towards in the life of Penang project. It will average to 63% full stake of the 44 billion $44 billion harvest from the Penang resources. All in all, in the project economics, when the pie is split, the state parties, including landowners and provincial government, will walk away on average at 63% of the total revenue generated from this. That's all-time high as far as gas project is concerned. Papua LNG, we are collecting at on average at 51%. PNG LNG, we are collecting at 48 to 49%. And so let me say, a deal that was achieved despite the tough global investment environment, despite the tectonic shift towards clean energy. ExxonMobil maintained composer with us, despite us pushing them very hard. They were able to push us very hard too, but as I said, we were able to find a sweet soft spot. We agreed, and all in all, the summary of this, we are picking up 59 to 60% of the total deal space in as far as this gas project is concerned. I just want to say, on behalf of Papua New Guinean citizens, thank you very much, Exxon. You're a super major. You could have easily said, what is 4.3 or 4.4%, 4.4 TCF of gas in Penang? You could have left it under the grounds up there, but you also appreciate the project dynamics that was at play, and you were able to come and write on it. And we will work every step of the way towards ensuring that by 2028 you mount the construction of Penang, and by 2032 thereabouts, first gas in Penang can flow. Thank you very much. God bless everyone. I look forward to the progress of Penang beyond this implementation.